go.
All right, we're doing high fives now.
We are doing high fives. We're high five friendly. Okay, folks. Well, welcome. Happy Thursday. We are back. We are so back, and we're talking breweries today. It's going to be great. But Alan, kick us off. What do we got?
are so back. We are the Hustling Sideways podcast, and as we were so nicely introduced, we talk about side hustles, passion projects, things that people go through outside of their normal 9 to 5, or in the entrepreneurship sense like we have today, talking about starting a whole new business. We are talking with Tim Pauly today, who has been on our show before. He's been on an episode of Hustling Sideways,
Recurring
not
guest,
here.
Officially recurring guest.
So welcome.
Thank you.
And let's talk a little bit about your background, just to kind of bring people up to speed. You were a Marquette alum. What got you to Marquette initially?
Yeah, so I am a 2010 grad. I was an economics major and a public relations minor. And like about 95% of the student population, I worked at Direct Supply for about 5 years out of school. Worked my way up through supply chain with every promotion. Unfortunately, I just kind of hated it a little bit more. I grew up selling baseball cards in the corner and water bottles outside of State Fair. Kind of always wanted to know I wanted to be my own boss. And for a few years in the mid-2010s, I was coming up with this idea of owning a craft brewery. And I loved baseball. So my playing days ended when I was done with club baseball here at Marquette.
Naturally.
More of a drinking club that played a little baseball on the weekends, but had a ton of fun with it. And yeah, Broken Bat was born in the mid-2010s. We opened in April of 2017 in a brewery that honestly was about the size of this room that we're sitting in right now. It's very small, more of a proof of concept space. And then, yeah, we've been rocking and rolling ever since and expanded a little bit. And sitting here today, still open.
That's
so,
great.
Yeah.
So when you were at Marquette and the experiences you had, did you get an itch to do anything that was entrepreneur, or were you more like, I'm focused on my major and go? Or when did you start scratching that itch, if you will?
It was there in college a little bit. Thought maybe I'd own a t-shirt company and make cool baseball stuff. Like a lot of people have ideas, but I would say the true entrepreneurial itch started when I was sitting in a cubicle. And I was, at a place. Direct Supply is as good of a place as you could possibly work. Like I'm telling you, like they treat their employees well. It feels like a family. They're competitive on pay. There's free coffee, which everybody takes a ton of advantage of.
And they're going to sponsor us shortly after hearing all these.
I mean, Bob Halas is the CEO and president. He's amazing. But I didn't like it, and that's sort of when I knew like the alarm bells were going off inside of like, I cannot do this forever. I'm 24 years old. Like, do something. And that's sort of when things started.
Yeah. Was there ever any like guilt in feeling? I feel like you get out of college, you get the job, you're supposed to like follow the script.
Love it. Yeah.
Did you feel like there's like a cognitive dissonance of? That's the phrase, right? Right.
Just go with it.
Communication major,
Yes,
so don't ask
it
me to spell it.
definitely is.
But did that feel any level of like I'm supposed to like this, but I don't?
Yeah, and admittedly, like we were coming out of a huge financial crisis in 2008, and there were hiring freezes all over the place. So like I knew as a 22-year-old that like some people were struggling a little bit, and I'm sitting here in a nice desk job getting paid, and as unhappy as I was, there was a weird dichotomy of I'm not supposed to feel like this. And that's sort of when I knew like pen needs to start hitting paper, ideas need to start coming to fruition, and sure as shit they did.
Yeah, and I think that's one interesting aspect of the episode you did with us too, is you were telling us how you were literally just taking breaks from work and drawing up plans.
Yeah.
In the bathroom.
I wrote our business plan in the bathrooms of Direct Supply. So I'd bring my
laptop,
laptop.
make sure you're okay.
Yeah, I would bring my laptop in there, and it was on lunch break and stuff, so I wasn't doing anything wrong. But yeah, I'd sit in my car or sit in the bathroom, and truly just that was my work time.
Yeah.
Do you think that those moments fueled that a little bit more because you were literally right outside of the thing that you wanted to kind of get away from to start something of your own?
I think, there's probably a lot of entrepreneurial spirits in the room right now. I think when you decide to start moving towards something, more often than not, nothing's going to get in your way. And I could have been writing it on scratch paper in my parents' basement. Like I was going to do it one way or another. And it was just figuring out how.
Did you share this with people, or was this in your head?
No, I was like a little hermit crab, just I was
strictly in the bathroom.
Yeah. You tell the urinal, perhaps?
No, I had a tremendous amount of fear that I would start talking about it and then not do it and then look like an idiot. As a 38-year-old, I wish I could tell my 23-year-old self, like, it's okay to dream and like let people in, and you're going to need a ton of help, and you're not going to do this alone and by yourself. But yeah, there was a true fear that if I start telling people about this crazy idea to jump on this craft beer, tidal wave that was hitting like the Midwest at the time, and baseball theme, like that's childish to some people. I didn't want to get the eye rolls and like, oh, good idea, Tim.
Right,
and
right.
Never
Keep
fruition, and like,
yeah,
good job, buddy. Like, so yeah, there was a little bit of fear of failure, but that helped drive me to.
I love that. When does the transition happen where you're like, I have something, I'm going to make this a thing?
I think when I started to act like I was a grad student at Marquette and talk to other brewery owners and start talking to them about their startup and how their business was going and what they did to start. I probably shouldn't have lied, like don't lie, but I would talk to brewery owners and say like, oh, I'm writing a thesis paper on small startups and like I'm focusing on craft beer, like talk to me about your experience. And they were starting to say things that I was already doing. And that was sort of my light bulb moment of like, okay, I'm passionate about baseball. I had somebody that I started with that was passionate about beer. And I just felt like once that light bulb went on, it was all gas, no brakes.
For the record, amazing lie to do. Like that's really like in this situation, it's okay to lie. In my opinion, like if you're around people that you feel like you're going to validate or challenge what you're doing and passionate about, then make up something to have them do that. That's what I would really recommend.
I was going to say that happens.
I think it's okay.
Called inside research.
Yeah,
consumer research.
I think that's a brilliant move.
That happens.
And there's probably a level like if they would have been saying things that you weren't doing, you're like, well, crap, I have to restart. So the validation came from it, but also if you think about it, it could have been challenging to be like, I have to do some different things. So I think that's a really underrated part of what you did is to actually seek out opinions of people that were in it and doing it. And granted, they didn't know your ulterior motives, but it worked out really well.
A little bit of blissful ignorance,
Right.
Yeah, it did work. And yeah, I admittedly, like I've had people come to me and say, oh, I'm thinking of starting a brewery. Like, can you talk to me about it? And my first few questions are always kind of, where are you at in the process? And I think, unfortunately, sometimes with ideas is they're just ideas. And until you start actually doing something with the ideas and moving forward, not an eye roll per se, but you don't necessarily take those conversations as seriously until people start giving you tangible steps that they've taken. Like, this is my plan. Then I'll listen like all day. How do I help you get there? And not just in craft beer. These are other industries in startup. But yeah, I was afraid that I would get the eye roll of like, oh, you're going to start a little baseball brewery in Milwaukee. Cool.
Yeah.
Good luck. So yeah, there's a lot of fear that if you guys can't tell, there's a lot of fear that was motivating some of the early days of fear of failure per se.
At what point are you brewing your first test batches? I know that there's a lot that gets, goes from point A to point B of saying I have this idea to starting to brew something. But I guess when are you starting to actually create a product, even if it's just testing it, in a kitchen or wherever for yourself?
The first Broken Bat beers were probably happening like junior year of college, honestly, like in kitchens and at our homes and stuff over school or over summer. But again, we started to take it a little bit more seriously, bring science into the fold a little bit, scale up our batches and start doing reunions or family gatherings, small weddings. Like we would have people say, hey, can you brew us a batch of beer for this? We'll put it on tap. I started to take it a little more seriously probably right after school, right after college. But yeah, it was happening summer 2009. So.
Sure. And that was an exciting time for craft brewery. Like you said, there were beers popping up like every week. There was a brewery in Milwaukee.
It felt like once a month from like 2015 to 2018. Yeah. There was a lot.
Did you watch? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Did you watch those other breweries come up and say, I don't want to do what they're doing here? You know what I mean? Like, would you go and sample or go check out their place and say, okay, I don't like this about it. I don't like that about it. I would do it my way.
I'll be honest with you, I had such tunnel vision on what we were doing at that time. Somebody could have given me a literal answer key on how this all needs to work, and I would have probably ignored it. But we were just so focused. But yeah, I did check them out for sure. But I had a pretty good idea what we wanted our place to look like and feel like, and experience-wise and beer-wise and brand-wise, and it was going to be that way or not.
Yeah.
So.
Is it in that space? Is it a friendly space, a competitive space? Are you helping each other out, sharing ideas, or is it like my brewery's the best. Like, what is that like within the ownership?
I think 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, it was very collaborative. It was very like everybody like rising tide rises all ships kind of thing. But I'm sure you guys have seen like there are brewery closures happening at a higher rate than openings for the first time since like 1993, which is the century that I was born in. So I don't.
We all just took stock of the room real quick.
Post-Great Depression, so yes.
But there has been a trend in craft beer of more breweries opening and closing for 30 plus years, and that's the 2025 was the first time that flipped. So admittedly, there's a bit of a silent panic kind of going through the industry right now, and it's happening in Milwaukee, Chicago, LA, Miami, New York. I don't care where you are in the country, it's happening right now. So not that we're not still collaborative and trying to help each other, but we're also like really turning internal to focus on keeping it going.
No doubt. And now I know part of this is, there's ebbs and flows, right, of good times and bad times. When 2020 hits, what are you, how do you evolve, right? Like, so what is the first thing that happens when you realize what the reality is, and what do you do as an entrepreneur, as a leader, to continue? And you're still with us today, in terms of the business. So you did something right.
Sure. So full disclosure, we were going through a multi-million-dollar expansion in 2019 into 2020. So we went from a brewery that was about the size of this space, that was a 15,000 square foot production facility with an event space, a big tap room, larger equipment, and our grand opening was supposed to be the first weekend in April of 2020. Our grand closing was supposed to be March 18th, and that didn't happen either. So literally, we're getting ready to launch a brand new space, brand new brewery, new beers, all this fun stuff, and the world shut down. So I went from hoping to have 500 people in my establishment on a Saturday to selling out of a tent by myself with double gloves, double mask, enough sanitizer to, kill an elephant. And it was terrifying. So, but again, there's a little bit of blind ignorance in being an entrepreneur, is you just wake up and figure it out. That's If you're not willing to do that, don't be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I think you have to have the blinders on.
But you just kind of figure out a way. And it was social media and engagement and being there and cracking jokes, and like everybody was going through something. Like I know you guys were at a different time of life, but there were students that were missing out on sports. You're taking classes on a computer. You can't go to anything for months. Like we were all fighting something. So to sit there and have the woe is me attitude.
Yeah, I mean, Alan had to work from home. It was
and then I never went back.
Yeah.
I never went back to an office after that.
Yeah, it's a really good takeaway, because that is such a clear thing that happened. And to your point, the amount of breweries that have closed and doing something right. And just from a leadership perspective, I think entrepreneur-wise, you just have to keep going. Push, right? Sometimes
you got to put a fake brave smile on and, do the freaking out at home at bed at 2 a.m. when you're looking at the ceiling. But you just have to wake up, get out of bed and do it. Yeah. And then people see that and they'll kind of help follow and pulls you through.
For sure. One thing too is because you have that space and you have that, it's even more than just a bar. It's more than a tasting room. There's an event space, all of these things. You also probably are running into like a million little problems along the way every day. Something is happening. How do you learn to adapt to like the chaos of, even when it's a good day, there's still something wrong, right? Like there's still something happening that needs to get fixed or tweaked or whatever. Mm-hmm. As the brewery owner, how do you learn, oh man, I guess I'm sweeping up tables now, or I'm sweeping up whatever, or I'm bartending tonight because my guy is sick today. Like, how did you learn to adapt to all of those things?
Yeah, I can assure you guys I've cleaned up nightmare scenes in the bathrooms. I have, helped drunk people get home. I've had to deal with some inconspicuous customers and all that stuff. People not showing up for work, but you sort of trade a little bit of freedom in the journey of I can leave at 11 a.m. on a Friday if things went well. Mm-hmm. And you sort of trade that for if you got to be there for 14 hours on a Tuesday, because like last night, we had water coming up through our floor last night. Not sure what it was. Yes, there was brown stuff in it. But I cleaned it up because I was down here, and my staff, I don't ask my staff to do things that I wouldn't do myself. So there's a little bit of yin and yang, give and take of, there's some days you're going to chew glass and it's going to hurt and it's going to suck going in and going down. But man, there's been a couple of Fridays where I've just gone home and gone to the zoo with my girls and my wife, and you kind of take the good with the bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. What myths or thing, like, so, if people are thinking like, I want to own a bar someday or own a brewery, it's going to be fun.
I was going to say, there's definitely probably some students in here going, all right,
right,
we're going to start Golden Eagle beer.
Like, obviously there's fun parts, but what parts do people just don't think about? And I know you named a couple here, but like from a business side, especially, like, are you doing, are you dedicating days where you have to balance the books? Like, what are some of those actions that people don't realize you have to do?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm in charge of all of our finances, our operations. Whether it's literally ordering toilet paper or ordering, $50,000 worth of raw materials.
Mm-hmm.
You have to deal with shipping, logistics, timing, brewing schedules, large events where I'm also in charge of, marketing and advertising and making sure people are showing up. So yeah, there's a ton to juggle, but I would always caution people with food and beverage and alcohol in general. And I got this advice very early on, was don't let it become your playground or your sandbox. Because I'm sure we've all seen the vices of life, like alcohol can be extremely dangerous if it's not treated properly and respected. I've had to deal with it firsthand, admittedly. Like internally at Broken Bat, I've had relationships completely shattered because of alcohol. So I personally have a rule that I do not drink when I'm there, unless it's like an anniversary weekend or something, major. I'll have a beer or two, but I don't want my staff to see me intoxicated where I start making, dumb decisions or putting stupid songs on or whatever it happens when you drink. You just do dumb shit.
Playing Justin Bieber or something.
Right.
I
would dig into my Creed, anthology and play Higher on repeat, but it's not all glitz and glamour either. And I don't mean to say that as like, don't do it, but brewing beer is really difficult. It's extremely labor intensive. It's a long process. If you screw up, people tell you, and that can be extremely like disheartening as a brewer. I personally don't brew beer at Broken Bat. I have a team that brews, but people that do brew, they can take that stuff really personally. Like you see Untapped and Yelp and Google and like, oh, the beer sucked. It's like, well, worked their butt off for like 4 weeks to make that thing happen. That specific beer, and you didn't like it, doesn't mean it wasn't brewed properly. It wasn't brewed with care, with good intention. It could be a really good beer, and you just personally didn't like it.
And it's so easy for one person to go online, and that affects
keyboard
so
warriors,
much.
Man.
It affects so much though, because if they see it on like an Untapped and they say, "Oh, this sucks," like you guys take that to heart because that means that would mean that like the next person coming in sees that. If they're looking ahead, kind of thing. So it does affect business.
Totally, it does. I mean, our favorite ones are always like, don't like Pilsners, 1 star. Well,
maybe don't.
I would appreciate it if you didn't order a Pilsner if you don't like it to begin with. Don't do that. But yeah, we used to take it a lot more seriously and personally than we do. But again, 98% of the stuff is positive and all really cool place, good vibe, good beer. But yeah, the one sharp tongue keyboard warrior, it can sting once in a while. So,
what's the experience you try to create when people walk in? What do you hope that people are gaining from being there, whether it's with friends or family? What's the goal?
Sense of community, man. Like community, that is where I think breweries and even just establishments in general are trending towards, is like, we've completely given up on this statewide. We want beer everywhere in every corner. We do not care about that anymore. Because there's no money in it unless you're doing it at extreme volume. And the people that are really going to get you through, not COVID per se, but tough months, tough weeks, are the people that are in your mug club, that are in your wiffle ball team, that have had a rehearsal dinner, that tell all their family and friends like, you got to go to Broken Bat, have had alumni events, Marquette stuff. Those are the people that are going to really get you through the low points of the ebbs and flows. So that's where our focus has completely turned back inside and close to home.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because we are in a very beer heavy city and a beer heavy market. And of course, there used to be Miller and things like that and major companies like that. How much are you paying attention to like the big guys though, when let's say they go, okay, we're going to launch a seltzer because people are into seltzers.
Yeah.
You know, do you look at those sorts of things and say, okay, this is where the market's headed? Or are you more focused on like, we're just going to make the best product that we have for ourselves?
Yeah, I think the seltzer craze of like 2021, 22 was a really good barometer for us. We kind of call them hype products these days, where the big guys are able to mobilize really quickly and advertise really intensely when they want to come out with something to beat the little guys off. So it was seltzers a couple years ago. Obviously, the THC beverages have been huge as of late. We're starting to head into non-alcoholic being really, really monumental in the industry. And thankfully, we just haven't participated in any of those. Like, we've carried a couple here and there, but at the end of the day, if we're being forced to constantly chase a 1 or 2 year trend, we're screwed. And admittedly, like, that realization came with the seltzer thing, because I saw larger breweries in the state of Wisconsin really go all in on the seltzer stuff, and it hurt when it didn't keep going. So again, a little bit of just luck, I suppose, but we decided pretty early on we're not going to chase, and if that puts us out of business, then
so be it.
So be it. Yeah.
When you're making and hiring your staff, like, other than being good at brewing, naturally, what are you looking for in your team?
Yeah, character's a huge one. You have to be a certain type of person to work with us. I have to be able to trust when I'm not, around. You're going to be doing the right thing, representing Broken Bat well outside of the four walls. I think that's a really important one too. Again, it's alcohol, and people behave differently, no matter what, when you drink alcohol. So, are you the kind of person that's going to go have a couple beers and start just like trashing us for no reason? I hope not. But yeah, character's a huge thing. Honestly, our general manager is a Marquette grad. I'm a Marquette grad. I have probably 6 or 7 bartenders that are, teachers and other line of work that are Marquette grads.
I'm sensing a theme here.
So yeah, I mean, it matters, man. It really does. But yeah, character is a hugely important one. I don't care really where you went to school or what your education was, but if I can trust you, good work ethic, represent us well.
For sure. I do want to ask about staff too. How many people do you have, like, roughly?
We have 5 full-time, and then we have about 25 to 30 part-time.
Okay. At what point did you know you were able to scale up and start hiring more people? Because I know that that's not an easy thing, especially when you're a young company. But then also managing that day-to-day with them, like, you had to adjust to become a people, a personnel manager.
Yeah. I mean, I was one of 2 employees for the first year. So our first year of operation, it was me and the guy that I started the brewery with. He was only in charge of being a brewer and would help bartend a little bit here and there. But it took about 13 months to realize, like, this is unsustainable. I need a little bit of help in order to grow. So it's 2018, we hired our first little service staff, and I think it was six folks that would help bartend, but I was able to focus on business and growth, and that's when the expansion plan started. And yeah, by 2019, we had signed a intent to lease and buy and expand, and yeah, it happened fast, but yeah.
So for a year, were you the only bartender at Broken Bat?
I would usually like get friends of mine to come help on the weekends, but yeah, every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I was by myself. Every Sunday, I was by myself, and then on Saturdays, I'd have some help. But
sure,
yeah, I got to know my customers.
I was gonna say that's good. Immediate
I'm
feedback.
Still friends with a lot. I'm still friends with a lot of them. They still show up. So yeah, that first year was very important. But again, that's all we could afford.
Right.
By the time we opened the place on April 7th of 2017, I think I had like $45 in our bank account. Like, it was go time. It was either this is going to work or it's really not, like, really quickly. And thankfully it did. So.
That's great. what is your balance like? So I know, it sounds for balance for you. So like when you're like
work life
What
balance.
I honestly thought you didn't hear what I said 3 times. I was like,
it's one of those things where you have to have some of it, but it's probably not going to be your classic, like, you show up in the morning, you turn it off at night, or 4 or 5 o'clock, and then it's over. Like, admittedly at this point, I probably don't have a full off switch. It's more of a dim. where I can turn it down a little bit. But I'll get random texts or calls of like, oh, this is flooded or this is clogged or this won't work or our point of sale's out or internet goes down. The Bucks game just froze. I'll get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, balance it's not necessarily something you should expect, in my opinion, as a small young entrepreneur. Maybe I'll get there someday, but it's pretty much my identity at this point.
I'd say I'm very much the same way of just there is no fully off.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I call it a dim switch instead of an off switch.
Yeah. And I would actually argue if you're really, really passionate about something and you're able to turn it off, there's almost
Maybe
like
not.
a disconnect. Like, if you love it, you're going to be thinking about it. Now, you're not going to be working at it at 24/7 all the time,
right.
but it's on your mind and you want to get better at it. And I think that's important. Like, but if you, like, everyone's different. Like, if you have to have that switch where it's totally off and you got to go relax, great, do it. Guarantee you, even when you try, you're still going to be thinking about it a little bit if you really like it.
Can't do it. Yeah. I just almost can't at this point.
Yeah.
That's when you get the text message that like the tap line broke and I need to somebody needs to come in.
Oh
and fix
gosh.
it.
Yeah. I'll write a book
Nightmares.
someday.
Sorry.
No, I joke about writing a book someday, but there's just a lot of little things that happen. There's some really big things that happen, and you just don't really have time to think about it.
For sure.
Take care of it.
There's a lot of fun things I'm sure that come with having a brewery.
Yes, there are.
What is maybe not the most successful idea, but like your favorite idea or favorite thing you guys came up with that you were like, this is the one that like I'm just gonna remember. I'm just glad that we did it.
Yeah. So we brewed a beer for a couple of teams in the Northwoods League, which is a college baseball wood bat league that's run preliminarily out of the Midwest. So the Lakeshore Chinooks is the team that we were connected with. A guy that worked for the league heard about us and said, hey, I have a friend of a friend of a friend kind of thing that knows the farmers who take care of the field at the Field of Dreams. If I can get some corn from the field, would you be interested in brewing a beer?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. I kind of gave the like, sure, that would be awesome, thinking nothing of it. 4 months later, I was driving out to Dyersville, Iowa.
Wow.
I met the farmers. We got to take a bunch of corn home. We got certificates of authenticity, like all sorts of stuff. We brewed beer with it, and it was actually served just outside of the first ever Field of Dreams game between the White Sox and the
that's so
Yankees.
cool.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was just like, somebody said, oh, would you be interested in this? Well, yeah, thinking nothing of it. And sure shit, it happened. So
Perfectly on brand with everything.
that's about as good as it gets. Yeah, we snuck a couple cans into the stadium. I didn't get to go to the game, but I knew a couple people that were able to get it in there, and
That's so cool.
we got some pictures with it and stuff. So literally, we have a beer that was brewed with corn that was from the left field area of the movie Field of Dreams. Have you guys all heard of the movie Field of Dreams?
Everyone know? Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay.
We would have
It's
some
an old
homework
movie,
tonight,
so
so
I
I
just-
just need to.
I just want to make sure.
Again, we
It's
just
an old
took stock
movie.
of the room real quick.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, I saw some head shakes.
Every now and then a pulse check is a good thing when it comes to Field of Dreams. That's great.
But there was that, and then we had a beer that was ready to go with the Savannah Bananas. I'm kind of corny, so I'll do some like handwritten letters and mail them out once in a while. And it was after the pandemic, and things were a little slow in the winter of 2022. And I wrote Jesse Cole a letter, and about 2 weeks later, I woke up to a text message of him in his full like banana suit. Hey Tim, got your letter? Jesse Cole here, like huge beer fan. We're gonna be in Franklin in 2023. Would love to. And big business got in the way of that one.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
speaking of Miller Coors, they were none too thrilled that I had a direct line to Jesse Cole, but that would have been really neat. And then my third one is the beer that we did with the Marquette students the last couple of years. I'm sure you guys have seen that there's a Marquette licensed beer right now. In 23 and 24, that beer was brewed by a cohort of 4 students, and I was one of the mentors that helped that program get launched. They were in charge of branding, recipe, marketing, launch, sales, all that good stuff. And that was probably the 2 4-month stretches that were the most fulfilling for me as a business owner and a Marquette alum. But yeah, launching the Blue and Gold Brewing Company and the 77 Golden Ale and the beer can, that was pretty neat. So,
And that was distributed, correct me if I'm wrong, at Marquette games too, right? or was it just around?
We launched it
just
at
around
National Marquette Day
Yeah.
at the Fiserv. Yeah, so both
Yeah.
of those beers were in the Fiserv Forum and sold out, halftime, and it was cool to look across the arena and be able to see it.
You can see that color. Yeah.
And a buddy, Jeff Levering, if anybody's a Brewers fan, might know
Yeah.
the name Jeff Levering. He's a good friend of mine, and he snuck a couple of beers into Fiserv at the booth or at the table.
Fantastic.
So they were both on national TV on Fox, national Fox broadcast, and he was talking to Brian Butch and LaFonso Ellis about them and stuff, and on TV with those beers. So it was very cool. I've been very lucky to have some very memorable experiences with brewery.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
My takeaway is to sneak beers into festival.
Nah.
Sorry.
If you're getting paid by Fox, maybe. But,
That's really cool. That kind of stuff is so invaluable for growing a brewing, right? I mean,
Mhm.
there's recognition around it. People want it. It looks great. It's aesthetically pleasing.
totally.
All the things. Do you find it easy to say no? Like when like, so I know you want to keep the beer going. Like, are there ideas where you're like, hell to no, we're not doing that? Or are you apt to trying most things?
Honestly, on the beer side, I'm good saying no. Like there's some truly dumb ideas that
Yeah.
I'm okay saying no to. Thankfully, I think we've gotten a little bit away from that on the beer side of like dumping donuts and candy corn and mixing it with Mountain Dew and like
Oh,
I've seen some crazy stuff out there.
Yeah.
I think where I find a hard time saying no is when people ask me for help, and whether it's time or money or donation or ideas. I'm really busy, and I love that. I have 3 beautiful daughters at home and a wife and a home to take care of, but I have a hard time saying no to, hey, Tim, can you give me a hand? Can I get a donation here, an hour here? Or
Yeah.
can you be on this board? Can you help
This
me?
podcast.
Yeah,
I was gonna say.
No.
You can say it out loud.
That's not true. But I have a hard time saying no to that.
For sure.
And admittedly, like I've had to give up, fun things or happy hours or Brewers game. I've missed things because I have a hard time saying no. But getting better at it. So being a little bit more picky. But I think that's probably the hardest part is saying no to help.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Are your days structured pretty similar? Like, are you someone that goes with the flow of that day to see what it brings? Which one do you thrive off of?
I thrive in chaos.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
structure is not my strong point, and that's to the detriment, I suppose, some days. But I'm really good at kind of figuring it out on the fly, and that's oddly enough where I feel more comfortable. I think going back to direct supply, like I kind of knew my day, I knew my week, I knew my month, and I started to go almost a little stir crazy in just kind of knowing what was going to happen, good or bad. Yeah, I think I thrive a little bit more in the fear of the unknown.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's entrepreneurship.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you the $1 million question that I'm sure somebody else here is already thinking. Someone in here is thinking, I'm going to start a brewery. What's the one thing that they need to know? Or maybe the first thing that you wish you would have known when you were starting something, when you were starting Broken Bat, that you were just like, okay, I wish I would have known this, 5 years ago or whenever.
Man, that's a great question. Probably twofold. I wish I would have known how to raise capital properly. And I wish I would have had the foresight to be more confident in what I was hoping to accomplish early on. It took me a really long time to feel like I still, like, we're 9 years into this, and I have crazy imposter syndrome. Like, I'll see another brewery do something and be like, God, damn it, why didn't I do that?
Totally.
Our beer isn't as good as theirs, even though it is. But there's this ghost that's kind of always chased me, and I just wish early on I would have known to ignore it a little bit more. And then truly, like on the finance side, I raised just enough money to get started, and I wish I would have had kind of the financial literacy to know that you need a little bit of money to burn. You're probably gonna have some months where you're gonna lose, more months where you don't. But we cut it really close.
I was going to say
financially,
$45 on launch day.
I think it was $47, but we didn't have much left over. So
for sure. And the confidence thing is also something that I can safely say as somebody else that has run a brand and created stuff.
Yeah.
Those first couple of years that I had a brand, and I was just hoping to get my name out there.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of have to just go
Yeah, you gotta be
go.
blind to
Yeah,
it, and
totally.
and more often than not, the response is overwhelmingly positive, and oh, this is so
Mhm.
cool! Like what a cool thing you're doing, and not just Broken Bat. I'm talking entrepreneurs in general. More often than not, the feedback is positive,
Mhm.
but there's a crazy amount of fear and imposter syndrome that somebody else is doing it better. This is dumb. Like, what am I doing?
All the time.
Like,
Everybody-
and I still, like, to this day.
Same. I've been speaking for 10 years. Every time I get on
Yeah.
stage, I'm like, I'm not supposed to.
Every time, what am I doing here?
That's probably the most, like, I'm not nervous about what I'm going to say when I'm speaking.
Yeah.
I'm just like, me? Really? Like, there's
Mhm.
1,000 kids. What am I supposed to do? And I'm not sure that'll ever go away. It's
Yeah.
just because I don't think we like ascertain the value that we bring oftentimes, right? Like, you're good at what you do and you should go do it often. And when you're in that space, you're like, really? And I start breathing hard, and it's like, oh my goodness. But that's the thing. It's like that goes to the top.
Mhm.
I think everybody's worried about what their 4 or 5 friends closest to them think, right?
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah.
you start something,
Totally.
I think that is really like, okay, are my friends from high school going to rib me over this
Oh yeah.
for this thing
Yeah.
that I'm trying to start?
What are people saying behind
Mhm.
Yeah.
behind you? Like, what are they saying about it? And you just kind of got to deal with
Just gotta
it.
go.
And
For
thankfully, more often than not, it's like, man, I wish I was doing that.
Yeah.
Right.
And maybe they do, maybe they don't. But yeah, just imposter syndrome is the best phrase that I can come up with. Is just I always think that somebody else is doing it better,
For sure.
Yeah.
or that I'm doing it the worst, which
Yeah.
is also not true.
Yeah.
But
In a room here with a lot of Marquette students, is there an experience or a teacher or something that you can point back to that you sort of were like, that was a really unique thing that kept me going, or
I
set
had
me off?
an econ professor named Dr. John Davis, and he just allowed me to explore things that I liked with economics. So I think a lot of times it's just strictly financial. It's all about money, and you do some focus things on battery companies or real estate or stock market. But he just let me be a fan of baseball.
Awesome.
And I wrote the best, longest, most time labor intensive, thesis paper about shared revenue in baseball and what we could do to fix it. And he just let me enjoy something while still applying every single thing that he was teaching throughout the course
Mhm.
in theoretical economics. But he let me love it,
That's cool.
and that was really cool. And he was a huge baseball fan. I didn't know that, but I said, like, I'm thinking of writing it on salary caps and revenue sharing and all this stuff. And he was like, oh, he kind of sat up. I was like, oh, I'm a huge Yankees fan. But just allowing the sandbox to be played in while still focusing very much on the task at hand. That was cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So where do you see things going? I know your immediate issue is flooding and we
After the water's cleaned up. Yeah.
this place was underwater yesterday.
That's right.
This morning. So,
Mhm.
but besides that, where do you see things for Broken Bat? Like, what is kind of on the horizon for you guys? What are you excited about?
Yeah, we are focusing heavily on events and bringing the community together, and really hoping to grow our events program. So when I say events program, basically we have taproom events, which could be trivia or bingo or all the cool fun stuff. We also have a world-class private event space upstairs at our building.
Yes.
And so we're looking to grow that. It's been the thing that's gotten us through the last couple of years, and we're really focusing on weddings, rehearsal dinners, corporate, all that good stuff. But yeah, getting people to the facility and not worrying about going out into the market is a big mental shift that we've taken on the last probably 9 to 12 months.
Mhm.
So
Very cool.
Awesome. And not to mention, Ichiro's new statue quite literally has a broken bat on it.
there might or may not be a letter en route to him to see if he wants to collab on a beer. Yeah, but, no, that was pretty good.
That really, when I saw that picture, I immediately was like, Tim, there it is.
Yeah, we got tagged on Twitter quite a bit with that one, but yeah, we're always keeping an eye out for fun stuff.
Very cool.
Well, Tim, thank you for being here. And I always forget what to say, so Alan, do the thing.
We are the Hustling Sideways podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. You can download all the episodes. We've got 120 now that we've got out there, plus a ton of bonus stuff where Jim and I talk about our own side hustles and our own business careers as well, if you can call them business careers at this point. We're doing our thing.
Things we do.
Anyway, you can also find us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, YouTube, all of the places. And if you want to be a guest, for the people that are watching, you can send us email, hustlingsideways@gmail.com. And Jim,
Keep on hustling.
thank you to the 707 Hub for having us as well.
Have a great evening.
All right.
Catch us back.
Okay.